Spirit of God, come down. Spirit of God, rain down. Spirit of God, come into my life. Spirit of God, rain down. Let your fire fall on me. Oh, Spirit of God, fall on me. Spirit, fall on me. Oh, let your fire fall on me. Oh, Spirit of God, fall on me. Spirit, fall on me. I pray you rain down, rain down in my life, Lord. Rain down, rain. I pray you rain down, rain down in my life, Lord. Rain down, rain. Oh, Spirit of God.
Hello friends, welcome to each and every one of you. Okay, today we will continue with the destruction of the nation of Israel. We had already mentioned yesterday that the third stage or third period of the history of the nation Israel consists of the decline of monarchy and the destruction of the kingdom. The first part of it we already mentioned yesterday. We know when we spoke of the decline of monarchy at the time of King Solomon, we already saw the reasons for this decline. Solomon's various actions paved way for the decline. His marriage of foreign women, then the worship of foreign gods, his building activity, the civil revolt, and finally the civil war that came up, or that was which was the result of the revolt. All these caused the kingdom of Solomon go in decline. And we can say that Solomon was punished by Yahweh at this time. And we find the story in the book of Kings. God appears to him and says, I am going to punish you since you did not walk according to my commandments. And what is the punishment pronounced? I will divide your kingdom, and I will give 10 portions or 10 tribes to your servant. You will have only one tribe. But then he added a favor, or he added something favoring Solomon. This will not happen to you. That is, this punishment will not occur when you are alive, but when you are dead, at the time of your son, the next king, what I said will be accomplished. and thus Solomon has to die in a mood of despair, maybe, because he was abandoned and forsaken even by God. Of course, not totally abandoned. He was forsaken because of his sins. Whatever step Yahweh has taken was always a corrective step, corrective measure, and that helped Solomon to understand his failures in life. Okay, and after the death of Solomon, we see the kingdom was ruled by his son Rehoboam. And naturally, when Rehoboam became the king, the elderly consultants of King Solomon, they were giving consultation also for the new king. And they said to him, since there are no much building activity now, you can kindly reduce the tax that was imposed on them by Solomon, and people will love you and they will honor you and respect you. And the young king, what did he do? He said, okay, let me consider over it. And then he consulted with his friends, young chaps, and see what would be their counsel, we can imagine. And the young chap said to him, if you heed to the voice of these people now, they will think you are weak, and therefore do not show any leniency towards them, and you will be asserting your power over them. Okay, when Rehoboam opined in this way, what would be the result? We see that 10 tribes, they were united once again against Solomon and Judah, because Solomon is coming from Judah. And all these 10 tribes decided to part themselves from the fold of Solomon. And Jeroboam, an official of Solomon, who gave leadership when Solomon was living, and later on when Solomon was able to contain the revolt, Jeroboam escaped to Egypt, and thus he saved his life then. But now he came back and he became the leader of the 10 tribes. And thus we see real division of the kingdom occurs now. 10 tribes were controlled by Jeroboam, a servant or official of Solomon, and now just one tribe, and together with the tribe of Judah, remained with Rehoboam, son of Solomon. And thus we see one mighty kingdom, a small empire in size, now gets divided into two. And therefore, the destruction of the kingdom occurs in this manner. Therefore, this is the first stage of the destruction. We already said there are 3 stages for the destruction. One is the destruction of the kingdom of Israel. And this takes place around 925 BC. Okay, And now what is going to take place? And here there is a problem about the division of the kingdom. Sometimes we see the Bible itself, Judah and the tribe of Benjamin were together, and they belong to the southern kingdom. But sometimes it is said only Judah was in the southern kingdom, and the tribe of Levi, that is the tribe of the Levites, they were always associated with the temple of Jerusalem, and hence we can say that by Jerusalem they were making their living, and all the Levites, they were associated with the king of Judah. And thus Judahites, that is the tribe of Judah, and the Levites, the tribe of Levi, both of them were together in the southern kingdom. But others, they were in the northern kingdom. And now, how does the history proceed? Rehoboam rules in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is his capital, and it is the city of David, also city of God, because the temple is there in Jerusalem. And all the people of Israel, undivided Israel, they were supposed to go to Jerusalem at least once in a year for the feast and to worship Yahweh and to offer sacrifices. That was the usual custom. And when Jeroboam became the leader of Israel, or the northern kingdom, the union of 10 tribes, and they were called by the name Israel, whereas the southern kingdom was called Judah. Thus, the single kingdom of Israel got divided into two: southern kingdom of Judah with the capital Jerusalem, and the northern kingdom of Israel, including 10 tribes, with its capital Penuel, and it was ruled by Jeroboam. Jeroboam became the king in Israel because he was the leader who gave leadership to the revolt. And now we see Jeroboam became the king of Israel, the northern kingdom. Even though he became the king, he was worried about some problems. Since they had only one temple, that is the Jews, they had only one temple, and that was in Jerusalem. And the Jews are supposed to go to the temple at least once a year. Naturally, all the Jews, all the people of northern kingdom Israel will be going to Jerusalem to worship Yahweh and offer sacrifices. And Jeroboam thought like this: if the people continue to go to Jerusalem, it can happen that Jerusalem may be attracting the people of Israel. That means when the people go to Jerusalem, the grandson of David, Rehoboam, is ruling in Judah, and David, being the beloved king of every Israelite, they may have a soft corner to the grandson of David, that is the present king in Judah, King Rehoboam. And hence Jeroboam, the king of Israel, felt there will be some problems arising out of this situation. If the people are going to Jerusalem, his power and the nation Israel may be in danger, because the people, if they accept Rehoboam as their king, then his own people will be deserting him. And then he devised a plan. The people of Israel should not go to Jerusalem for anything. They are supposed to go to Jerusalem for worship. But now Jeroboam, the king of Israel, decided the people of Israel need not go to Jerusalem. For the sake of worship and sacrifice, they have to make temples in Israel itself, in order to prevent the people from going to Jerusalem to offer sacrifice and worship Yahweh. Therefore, Jeroboam invented some means for that. And what are the means he employed? First of all, he thought, in order to worship God, there should be temple. And he built 2 temples, one in the southern part of the kingdom and the other in the northern part of the kingdom. Okay, why in the southern part? Jerusalem would be nearer. But he said, they are not to go to Jerusalem. They should be prevented. And hence, the southern part of the kingdom Israel, at Bethel, the shrine was built. The temple was built in Bethel, the southern city. And then, in the northern part of Israel, in the city of Dan, another temple was built. Thus, Jeroboam built 2 temples, and these temples were known as rival temples. Why are they called rival temples? Because these temples were built by Jeroboam in rivalry with the temple of Jerusalem. And that is the reason why they are called the rival temples. Therefore, this is the first thing that Jeroboam did to prevent the people from going to Jerusalem. Now they have new temples. But remember, it is not enough to have the temple building. There should be the dedication or the presence of God. We know in the temple of Jerusalem, there was the Ark of the Covenant of God, and that was supposed to be the holy presence of God Almighty, Yahweh. And they do not have another model for this. And that means, in order to dedicate the temple for Yahweh, they have no Ark of the Covenant to be placed either in Dan or in Bethel. And Jeroboam found out a remedy. And what is the remedy? He made a golden calf and placed it in the shrine of Bethel or in the temple of Bethel, so also he made another golden calf and placed it in the shrine of Dan. And he interpreted that this is the God that led you out of the land of Egypt, from the land of slavery, and brought you into the land of Canaan. And he is the God who saved you. And that would mean this idol of, or the golden calf, and it is the idol of Yahweh, because the golden calf stands for Yahweh. That was what he told the people of Jerusalem, people of Israel, let us say. And when he said like this, probably some of the pious Israelites asked him, is it not against the commandment against idolatry? Nobody is to worship idols or to make idols of Yahweh. And now the king himself says the golden calf is the idol of Yahweh, and people are in a dilemma. Is it not idolatry? Practically we can say the king was asking the people to worship the idol. That is, he was leading them to idolatry. And when the people raised this objection, we see the king replied, you need not worry about it. In the temple of Jerusalem, you know, Yahweh is seated in a throne which is carried by the cherubim. But he is not physically there. But the people believe he is enthroned on the throne and he is invisibly present there. In the same way, you can think of this golden calf as the pedestal of Yahweh, and that is, think that Yahweh is seated upon the golden calf. It is a throne for Yahweh. In that sense, you can take, and then it is not idolatry. Okay, that is not acceptable to some, but the others or other people, they accepted this explanation by the king. Thus, they had the temples and dedication. But we know, for the functioning of a temple, they need priests or ministers. And all the priests or the Levites were associated with the temple of Jerusalem. And then, what can be done? Since no Levitical priest is available, Jeroboam found out an answer for this too. And what's the answer? He appointed people from any tribe. Whoever wanted to become a priest was appointed a priest. That is what he did. Therefore, he appointed non-Levitical priests or non-Levites as priests in the new shrines. Okay, and then we see, even if there is a temple, dedication, and priests doing the ministry, the people of the land go to the temple to worship, we know, usually at the time of feast, the feast of the tabernacle or Passover, like that. And that is a time usually they go to worship Yahweh in the temple. And even though the temple is established in Israel, people will continue to go to Jerusalem for the celebration of the feast. And in order to prevent the people from going to Jerusalem, even at the time of the feast, Jeroboam did one more thing. He established feast in these two temples at the same time when feasts were celebrated in the temple of Jerusalem. That is, he established parallel feast. Okay, these four things that he did: the rival temples, establishing golden calf as idol of Yahweh, then appointing non-Levites as priests, and fourth, establishing parallel feast. These four things are given a technical name, and that is used in the Bible. It is called the sin of Jeroboam. Remember, the sin of Jeroboam. And what is meant by the sin of Jeroboam? It includes all these four things. And when Jeroboam committed this sin, the effect of that did not stop there. When the king made two shrines, the people of the land, they began to build shrines in almost all the hills, and the king allowed it. And they are called the hilltops, or the shrines on the hilltops. And in these hilltop shrines, people were worshipping the idol of Yahweh, that is the calf. And that was the way the people were going on. And now we see, by these steps taken by Jeroboam, he made all the people of Israel idol worshippers. That is, he led them to idolatry. And therefore, as we go through the books of Kings, we find this statement. Whenever the story of a king of Israel is narrated, we would find a statement like this: Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin. And that would mean he made them commit the sin of idolatry. And that is what is meant there. Therefore, Jeroboam, because of his sin, led the people away from Yahweh. And this is meant by the sin of Jeroboam. And later we find one more extension of this action done by Jeroboam. When a later generation came up, we find the people forgot the fact that the calf is the idol of Yahweh, because the Canaanites, the people of the land, were worshipping their god Baal in the form of calf. And therefore, we see that they began to worship the calf and for them, for the later generation, that was equivalent to worshipping Baal, that is God Baal. And therefore, the people now began to worship not Yahweh but Baal instead. Thus we can see idolatry paves way for apostasy, worship of other gods. Therefore, this was the impact of the sin of Jeroboam. And this is what we have to understand about the sin of Jeroboam, how Israel was led to sin by its own king. Okay, now we are going to stop here and we will speak with the rest of the story tomorrow. So, thank you. Bye.
Loving God, we thank you for the blessing of reading your word together. We ask that these words of life, truth, and hope would continue to impact us in the days ahead. May your love and grace follow each of us, refreshed and blessed by you. Amen.